What if one day I wake up and I realize that I have forgotten everything I know about English? Grammar, vocabulary, everything. I cannot speak, I cannot understand. What will I do? Of course, I will panic, but how will I start learning again from zero? I thought about this very carefully. I thought about everything I did when I was learning English as I was growing up. I thought about all my students and what they did. And I started making a list of what works and what doesn't work. And I figured out if I want to start again, there are only 5 things I will do. Not 100 different things, but only 5 things. And if you try to do these 5 things, I promise that you also will learn English successfully. Only 5 things. So watch this video until the end, because I promise this is going to be the most important video you will ever watch about learning English. My name is Maddie, and welcome to my Slow English podcast. When we talk about learning English, we talk about learning 6 things: grammar, vocabulary, listening, reading, speaking, and writing. The first 2 are called systems, the foundation. Grammar and vocabulary. These are the building blocks of a language. Think about building a house. What do you need to build a house? What's the smaller unit of material you need to build a house? A brick. Grammar and vocabulary are the bricks, the building blocks of an apartment, of a house. You need them. Then we have 2 receptive skills, listening and reading. These are the skills related to receiving information and understanding them. And then we have 2 productive skills, writing and speaking. These are the skills where you need to actually produce information from yourself. You need to write or you need to speak. These are the 6 elements that you need to learn. Now, think about this. Let's say I want to sit down and study right now. Each time I sit down, I open my computer, I open my book or notebook, and I want to study. I have to make a decision. What should I study? Okay, I need to choose something to study with. It can be a book, it can be a new podcast episode, it can be a new YouTube video, it can be anything. You need to choose what to study. And once you choose, you need to think about this. Is this good enough to study? Am I going to enjoy studying this? And is this going to help me with one of those 6 elements: grammar, vocabulary, reading, writing, listening, or speaking? And once you answer all of these questions, you will then start your study session. Okay, today's done. Let's go. Tomorrow, I sit down again. I have to make the same decision. What to study? Is it good? Am I going to enjoy it? Is it going to answer to one of those 6 elements? And again, I study. And let me tell you one thing. This decision you have to make every time you want to study is your enemy. Why? Because think about it. The first 30 minutes of sitting down, deciding to study a language, you have to make a decision of what to watch, what to learn, what to study with. Is it good? Is it going to help me? Am I going to enjoy? You have to answer all these questions and then start studying. And then tomorrow it restarts. You have to choose that again. This decision will make you tired because learning happens in the long run. If each time you sit, you have to think about what to do next, it's going to make you tired, 1. And 2, you're going to end up learning random things. Oh, let's watch this video today. Oh, let's watch that podcast tomorrow. Oh, let's listen to this audio. Or let's read that book. You're going to learn little bits and pieces of unrelated things. And this will never form the knowledge you want in your head. This is the biggest enemy. Do you know how I would destroy this enemy from day 1? This is my first step in learning English, and that is choosing a learning system. What's a learning system? A learning system is anything that provides 3 things for you. Content. A good learning system will provide the content necessary to learn grammar, vocabulary, reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So the learning system provides content. The learning system also provides context. where the things you're teaching me is actually going to be used and how. So it answers to where and how of the things it teaches you. And 3, it gives you guidance and plan. How should I study the things you're teaching me? So a good learning system has 3 elements: content, context, plan. Now, what is an example of a learning system? There are many. It can be a language school. So there is a language school in my city, in my neighborhood. I go there and I sign up. I have to go to classes. I have to either physically attend classes or have live lessons on Zoom with our teachers. The school is your learning system because the school has a curriculum. That curriculum covers grammar, vocabulary, reading, writing, listening, speaking. They provide the book, which covers the context. So you go to school, you have the curriculum, which is the contents. You have the book, which is the context, where the grammar, vocabulary you're learning is actually going to be used and how. And they provide teachers, which is guidance and plan, right? So a language school is a good example of a learning system. When I was growing up, I used to go to language schools. For a long time, I did this. And back then, I'm talking about 14, 15, 16 years ago, even more. Back then, that was the only option we had. But now things are different. Another example of a good learning system, online academies, where you don't have to physically attend a school. You don't have to get ready and commute and waste a lot of time getting ready, going there, taking the bus, taking a taxi, taking a cab, or getting on the public transport and go there, sit down for what? 90 minutes of study. Now you can do all of that online. So you can also search for online English academies, such as the POC English Academy that I have built to address this exact problem. Or another example of a learning system, a book, but a book from a reliable source. This is a Cambridge book that I used to study when I was learning English. And of course, this is a CPE book. It's the objective proficiency. It's the C2 level of English. And what the book does is it provides the content, grammar, vocabulary, reading, writing, listening, speaking. It provides context, where to use the things that the book is teaching you. But it does little to provide guidance and plan. So that's one of the downsides of a book. So to sum up, the first thing I would do is to destroy the biggest enemy, which is deciding what to study and whether or not that is good each time I want to study. I would destroy this step by choosing the right learning system. The right learning system has 3 elements: content, context, plan, and you need to enjoy it. This is very important. And if you don't have a system, it's like driving blindly. You don't see anything and you're driving. Is it safe? Is it going to take you to your destination? No. So that's my first step. Choose a good learning system. But once you have your learning system, what will be my next step? I will commit to it. My second step is discipline. And this is probably the most important factor that determines whether or not a student is going to be successful. Discipline. Think about it. Right now, you are a student of English. That's why you are watching this video. You are studying English. Think about your schedule. Do you have a fixed schedule? When do you study English during the week? Do you have a fixed block of time every Monday at 2, every Tuesday at 4? Do you have that? If you don't have it, you don't have a plan. You don't have the discipline. But if you want to make the discipline, here's what I will do. Some students would go for large blocks of time. Okay, every day, 3 hours a day. Or every other day, 4 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour and 30 minutes. And I am against doing this. Why? Because once you create a big plan for yourself, because you are motivated now, you would say, okay, from now on, Maddie said you need to be disciplined. So every Monday and every Wednesday and every Friday, I'm going to study for 2 hours. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to study this week. You're going to study probably even next week. And then it's going to slow down. You're going to miss one day. And then you'll be like, okay, well, I missed today. I'm going to study this Wednesday. You will miss Wednesday. You will miss Friday. You will miss the other days as well. And then you will realize that it's been 2 months that I haven't studied. This kills your discipline. So here's what I would do if I want to be disciplined. Every day, I have to study for 15 minutes. And that's all. 15 minutes only. You might say, 15 minutes is not long enough to learn anything. And I probably agree with you. But here's how I see it. If you force yourself to study 15 minutes a day, regardless of your mood, I'm on a trip, I don't want to learn. It's just 15 minutes. I'm sad today, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, something bad happened to me. It's just 15 minutes. If you force yourself to sit down and study for 15 minutes a day, it's not that big. So regardless of your mood, you're going to do this. But is 15 minutes enough? Speaking from experience, I have realized that the biggest blocker you have when you want to study is not how long you want to study, but it's starting to study. Deciding to sit down, open the book, open the notebook, open the system that you have. That decision is the hardest. But once you make that decision, once you sit down and you say, okay, I want to study for 15 minutes, chances are you're going to continue studying for at least an hour. And I guarantee this is something that is going to happen to you too. Try it. Tell yourself that I'm going to sit down and only study for 15 minutes. Sit down, start studying, and you will end up studying for at least an hour. This is a little trick you can use. And worst comes to worst, if you sit down and you see that, oh, no, I am really not in the mood, okay, finish studying after 15 minutes. By doing this, first of all, you guarantee that you will be disciplined because 15 minutes a day is not that much. It's like scrolling on Instagram. Just sit down and study. 2, you may be able to study longer because the hardest decision is to sit down and study. Once you start, chances are you're going to continue for more than 15 minutes. And 3, if you're not in the mood, you're just going to leave it after 15 minutes. This will help you be disciplined. Plus, every day your brain, at least for 15 minutes, is going to be busy learning that language. In our case, English. So this is what I would do. 15 minutes a day, every day. Maybe I will study longer. Maybe I would finish at 15 minutes. But I would make sure every day I do something. Okay, so the first step was having the system, and I have it. Second step was having the discipline. Only 15 minutes a day. I may study longer, I may not. I have the discipline. What's the third step? Each time you sit down and you decide to study, this is the third step. You need to follow a learning cycle. What's a learning cycle? Here's my recommended learning cycle. The first thing you do in every study session is to start with grammar. Learn something that the system is teaching you. I'm not talking about you sitting down choosing what grammar video to watch. No, that's the first mistake. You are not going to make that decision twice. You decide once that this is the system that provides the content for me, and you just follow the lead of that system. So each time you sit down, the system will take you through grammar. That's the first step. You need to study grammar first. And here's one important thing I want to tell you. I know a lot of teachers probably have said, hey, stop learning grammar. Grammar is useless. Work on your speaking. Work on your fluency. You can speak without grammar. I totally disagree. It's impossible. If anyone says that you can speak English or any other languages without learning the grammar first, they are lying. Grammar is the building block. Vocabulary and grammar, these are the building blocks. And if you don't have the building blocks, you have nothing to build. You cannot build anything. These are the foundation. Without the foundation, there's no building. So this is where I disagree with some teachers who say grammar is not necessary. To me, grammar is step 1. But things don't stop there. You study grammar, you move on to vocabulary. You have covered the foundation, right? What's the next step? The next step is to go to the receptive skills. Reading, listening. But here's the important thing. The reading activity and the listening activity need to be built on the same grammar and vocabulary that you just studied. So think about it. You study grammar, and you learn some structures. You study vocabulary and you learn some words. Now you go to reading, where you will see the same structures and the same new words that you have learned. In that reading activity, these two must be covered so that when you are reading, you are also thinking about the grammar you just studied and the new words you've learned. After the reading, which is the receptive activity, you go to listening, which is another receptive activity. You receive information again. The listening script and the listening task need to cover the same grammar and the same vocabulary again. This way, you make sure that your receptive skills cover the foundation, cover the systems, cover the same grammar and vocabulary that you studied. So you see, we are building a very, very well-connected system here. We're following a very well-connected cycle here. Grammar, then vocabulary, then reading, then listening. What's next? Now it is time to get to the productive skills. The most interesting skills and probably the most difficult skills. Here's where we will start with writing. You're going to write as your first productive skill because when you are writing, you have time to think about grammar, the same grammar you studied that day. Vocabulary, the same vocabulary you studied that day. And you get ideas from the listening and reading activity in order to produce a text. You see how connected they are in this cycle? So you start writing. You write a text using the same grammar, using the same vocabulary, using the ideas from listening and reading. You write the text. And finally, the last step of the cycle is speaking. The same text you have written, explain it to me. What did you write? Why did you write that? If it was something with your opinion, defend it. Explain why you wrote that text. Talk about it to yourself. You don't have to talk about it to anyone. You can talk about it to yourself. You can use AI, of course. You can use ChatGPT. You can use any AI coach. But I would recommend talking to yourself. I've written this text. Okay, why did I write it? I wrote this text because, and I thought, the reason why I thought is this. Talk about your text in your own words with yourself. And this is that cycle I talked about. Each study session should include grammar, vocabulary, reading, listening, writing, and speaking. Those 6 elements. And this is exactly what happens at PUC English Academy. As you can see in this picture, in every unit, we cover all these steps. You start with grammar, you go to vocabulary, then you go to the receptive skills of listening and reading, and then you go to the productive skills of writing and speaking. And finally, once you've covered everything, there is a final exam to assess your learning. This is what you need to do. You might say that, hey, this guy said we need to study for 15 minutes. If I sit down and I want to take all these steps of grammar, vocabulary, reading, listening, writing, speaking, it's going to take way more. And of course, you're correct. I'm not saying that each session you need to cover all of those. I'm saying in each cycle, you need to cover all of those. A cycle of learning may take you 5, 6, 7 days. That's fine. But during those 5, 6, 7 days, you're following one cycle. The same grammar, the same vocabulary, the same reading, the same listening, the same writing, and the same speaking. And once you've done all of these steps, you go to the next cycle, which may take a week. Okay? So I'm not saying every time you study, during every 15 minutes you study, you need to cover all of those. No, it may take more. You may finish a cycle in 1 day. You may finish it in 7 days. That's fine. But make sure every time you study, the cycle begins from grammar, goes to vocabulary, goes to the receptive skills of reading, listening, writing, and speaking. And that is how you start from the basis, from the vocabulary and grammar, and you end up working on your speaking. Here's one important thing I want to tell you. I have seen a lot of you say this, mention this in the comments, that we perfectly understand what you're saying. We completely hear you. We understand what you're saying. Our understanding is very good. But I cannot speak like you, and I want to speak like you. The reason is you are at the listening level. So grammar, vocabulary, check. Reading, check. Listening, check. Speaking is further down the line. You have to continue the cycle. Your cycle is ending at the listening level now. You have to continue the cycle to writing and then to speaking to close the entire cycle. That is why I'm telling you, having the correct system will guarantee you will follow that cycle. This is the same thing that happens in all Cambridge books, the whole cycle. This is the same thing that happens in PUC English Academy that we have built. This is the only way you can make sure you are covering everything coherently in a closed loop cycle. Okay, so system, discipline, cycle. What else? Learning does not happen by covering one thing only one time. It happens by reviewing the same thing over and over and over again. So my fourth step in learning English would be to review. But review what? Each time you sit down to review something, am I going to cover all the same steps of grammar, vocabulary, reading, listening, writing, speaking? No, that would be another study session. So of the 6 elements that I have covered previously, I am only and only going to focus on the writing and speaking part as the review. But how? See, the last time you studied, once you reached the writing step, what happened? You wrote a text. Now that I want to review, I go to my text, I read my own text that I wrote in my previous study session. By reading that text, I am going to remember the grammar, because I used the grammar in the text. I'm going to remember the new vocabulary because the new words are in the text. And I'm going to remember the ideas that I had for that text. I'm going to read that text. Then, the next step, I'm going to write another text similar to that using the same grammar and vocabulary. And finally, I am going to speak about the new text that I have written. Enough. That's a review session. I read the text very quickly, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I write a new text, 5 to 10 minutes. I speak about my new text, 5 to 10 minutes. So in 15 to 20 minutes, you finish a review session. You don't have to go and read the grammar and vocabulary and the reading and the listening activities again. No. Just focus on the writing and the speaking part, the productive part. And by doing this, you're also working excessively on your productive skills. The reason why many of you and many of the students I've talked to are stuck at understanding level and are not able to produce sentences, are not able to speak. They are good at understanding, they're not good at speaking, is because you tend to spend most of your time on the first part and not on the second part. What I'm saying is, in your review sessions, only focus on the productive skills, writing and speaking. And in the long run, you will see the results. And the last thing that I am going to do, this is the last thing that I will do. Number 5 is to learn from your mistakes. You need to have a way of keeping track of your mistakes. Every time you're doing a grammar activity or a vocabulary exercise, or you write a text and you give it to AI to correct, and you find your mistakes, or giving it to your teacher to correct, you find all the mistakes. When you find all the mistakes, you need to keep track of them. Well, one way, the traditional way, was in our notebooks. We used to write everything down and keep track of it. This is the mistake I had. This is why I made the mistake. And this is the correction. You have to do it every time. This is going to take a lot of time. I know. This is going to be a boring step. I know. But here's the thing. With AI, you can do this much faster and way easier than before. How? Just when you write a text, ask AI, whichever AI tool you use, to correct it and to tell you your exact mistakes. And keep that tab open in your AI conversation. Just copy and paste your text or the exercises in that chat so the chat has the memory of all your mistakes. In the end, you can ask the AI to list all your mistakes for you. That's one way of doing it. Another way, the way we do it at PUC English Academy, is each step you take in learning, each quiz you answer, each listening activity, each test, each writing, whatever you do, each mistake you make is recorded. The system keeps it. And every Monday at 8 a.m., based on all the mistakes you had last week, the system will generate a review activity for you. In that review activity, there are more than 30 quizzes and exercises generated for you based on your last week's mistake. So you have the track of all your mistakes in our system. And based on your mistakes, you will get a quiz. You will take the quiz. If you answer correctly, they're going to be archived. If you make the same mistake again, they're going to go back in the loop, and next Monday, you're going to receive another quiz about the same mistake. This cycle will repeat so many times to make sure that you have learned from your mistakes. And this is the last thing I will do. If you follow this method, the 5 things I mentioned, you can use this for any language you want to learn. You want to learn German, use the system. You want to learn English, use it. You want to learn French, Arabic, use it. And these are the 5 elements we included in the POC English Academy. That's the whole basis of our academy. If you are curious, if you want to learn more about what we do, if you want to learn more about the POC English Academy, scan the QR code or click on the link above this video. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you liked it. And if you're new, click subscribe. See you soon. Bye.